This will be a very short video on how to use Excel to calculate the expected return and variance based on the scenario approach. So in the original video, I showed you how to do the calculation manually, but if you wanted to use Excel, it would become much easier, and also you wouldn't have to worry about the decimals or the percentages along the way, so that it will increase the accuracy of your answer. So the first approach to use Excel is to use it as if it were a regular calculator. So even if you are a novice to using Excel, you could just use it very easily. So for example, if you wanted to calculate the expected return, so this is, if you just go back to the definition of the expected return, it's always probability times the return, probability times return, probability times return, and sum them all. So you just do that as if it were a regular calculator. Always try to start with an equation, equal sign, and then just click the cell that contains that number. So C6, which has the probability of boom, probability times return, plus probability times return, plus probability times return. And there you go. You will have your answer for the expected return. So of course you can present it in the decimal place, just with decimal places, or maybe in percentages. It's up to you. But there's also a function that will make things a lot easier to calculate the expected return, and that would be sum product. Sum product, what it does is, if you just specify the range, it will just take the product or multiplication of the pairs and then sum them all in the end, for example. So if you just specify the first range, which has the probability, comma, and the second range, which has the returns, close your parenthesis. What it automatically does is it's going to multiply the pairs. So C6 and D6, C7 and D7, C8 and D8. It's automatically going to get the product of these pairs and then sum them all in the end, which will give you the same answer as what you had with the calculator type of work. Okay, so sum product is what you can do, or maybe just manually just input all the formulas as if you would with just a regular calculator. So if you want me to share with you the formula, this is the formula you may want to use. Same thing can be done for stock B. So stock B, if you wanted to use it as a calculator, so probability times return plus probability times return plus probability times return. This would do, and you would have 12.5% or 0.125. Same thing here. If you wanted to use sum product, first range of probabilities, comma, second range of all the returns. Close your parenthesis, and you will have the same answer. So this is what you can do with Excel for your expected return calculation. And now if you want to move on to variance, with variance it will be much a little bit more complicated than just calculating the expected return. So if you wanted to use it like a calculator, then you might as well create another column that will give you information on return of A, right, minus expected return, right? So the deviation from mean. And then, of course, you want to have the squared amount of return, right? So given so, let me just change the font real quick. Okay, this is what you would want to have, right? So just try to get the deviation from mean squared, which is return minus expected return. One of the two can be used, and then square. Same thing here. Return minus expected return squared. Note that it just shows the full number, so you don't have to worry about the decimal places, right? Return expected return squared, right? So once you have all the deviations from the mean, of course, deviation from mean times probability. So you're just going to take a very similar step as you did with the expected return for your variance. So variance, as if for calculator, probability times deviation from mean squared plus probability times deviation from mean squared plus probability times deviation from the mean. And then you will have the answer to the variance question. Okay, so this is one way of doing it. But of course, it does have a shortcut as well. So here you're going to use the sum product function again, sum product. And then first range will still be the probability. And for your second array, second range, why don't you create your own variation from mean squared? But it's just going to be put together. So all the returns minus your expected return square. So the second range is actually what it does is for each like D6, D7, and D8. What it does is, from there, you're going to subtract D9, which has the expected return, and to the power of 2. Okay, so it's automatically doing it for each row, each cell, each range that you just selected. Close your parenthesis. And then once you're done, if you click enter, it probably will give you an error. Some versions of Excel will not give you an error. However, mine doesn't give you an error either. But if your version gave you an error, what you can do is you do not press enter, but press Control, Shift, and Enter together. And it will give you the answer for your variance. And if you wanted to try it for stock B, you can do the same thing. So let's do the deviation from mean squared for B as well. So this would be return minus expected return squared. Return minus expected return squared. Return minus expected return squared. Once you have all the deviation from mean squared, you will do probability times deviation from mean. Probability times deviation from mean. Probability times deviation from mean. There you go, you have your own variance. So this is a way of doing things like calculator. And for your advanced function, use sum product. First range, the probability. Second range, craft your own deviation from mean within this parenthesis. So all the ranges of the one that you want to do arithmetics to, okay, minus expected return, take it to the power of 2. So inside this parenthesis, inside this variable place, all these calculations will be done automatically towards each cell. Close your parenthesis, enter, and you will have the same answer.